Salutations, comrades, wherever you're watching from. My name is Emam Nyangeri, and welcome to the Parliamentary Coffee Forum. We will be digging deep and sharing more about coffee, the coffee industry. Anything you want to know, we'll be sharing. I'll be bringing you every episode with a very special guest. And with me today, I have a very special guest joining me shortly. We will talk deep more about coffee. We'll know who he is, and we share more insights relating to coffee. Every single bean that turns into 1,000 flavors. We'll get to know more of that and what he has for us today. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go into the show right away. Good to have you on the show.
Well, good to have you, Mr. Emma.
You're welcome to the Parliamentary Coffee Forum.
Thank you so much. I'm glad that I've been invited to attend this forum. My name is Mr. Kiwava Ignatius. I'm a passionate coffee farmer with about 6 acres of coffee and also very passionate about environmental conservation and product development. Thank you for inviting me to this forum.
You're very welcome. How long have you been in this coffee business?
I've been in coffee business for about 6 years, but in production and innovations for over 13 years now.
First things first, what is Uganda's current status on coffee?
Well, that's a bit general, but to be specific, maybe on the quantities and volumes produced and exported, Uganda is the second largest producer of coffee in Africa after Ethiopia, but the number one exporter of coffee outside of Africa. It takes number 7 on the global scale as exporter of coffee. In terms of the people who are depending on coffee, about 2.2 million people depend directly on coffee as farmers, and others indirectly depend on coffee as traders, exporters, making it a total of about 3.5 million people.
You mentioned that Uganda is the second exporter of coffee. What does this mean to Uganda as a nation and in terms of jobs?
It's rather the second producer and the first exporter.
The first exporter and the second producer.
Yes, meaning some country, Ethiopia, though produces a lot, does not export as much as we do. Yeah, so we are the second producer at estimates of about 7 to 9 million bags, 60 kilograms per year, depending on the season. And we export about from the period of May 2025 to June this year, we've exported about 8.78 million bags of coffee, and that's worth $2.38 billion. You can call it 8.6 trillion Uganda shillings. Yeah, so that's a lot of money from the sector, and it shows you how much Ugandans really depend on coffee. It employs, like I said, about 2.2 million people directly, and about over 3.5 million people directly and indirectly. So that means others are working as farmers, others are working as traders, and others are working as exporters, both benefiting from coffee. Some data has showed that we could actually be having about 5 million people directly and indirectly depending on coffee. But that's another information to confirm. And generally, information has it that for every 14 people, one of them is depending on coffee. That's about 70% of our population depends on coffee.
80% of our coffee is Robusta. Should we say we are pushing more of Arabica? Can you share an insight?
Well, the two types of coffee, Arabica and Robusta, are determined, their volumes are determined by our terrain. Much of our terrain is low altitude, and Robusta is recommended to be grown on low altitudes of about 1,200 meters above sea level and below, whereas Arabica is recommended to be grown at high altitudes of 1,200 meters above sea level and beyond. Some areas like the Renzori region, Elgon region, they have altitudes going as high as 1,800, 2,000 meters above sea level. So, given that most of our terrain is flat or is low, it gives higher chances for us to grow Robusta. And because we have very few high altitudes, it means that we end up growing a smaller proportion of the Arabicas. And that's to our advantage because now, Uganda being the birthplace of Robusta coffee, it puts us at the command level globally in terms of the volume and in terms of quality. Because Uganda being the birthplace of Robusta, it gives its Robusta coffee uh, a high cup profile or the best cup profile, which in some other countries, actually, Robusta coffee is used to improve those other countries' coffees because of its diversity and the high quality cup.
What are some of those regions that mainly uh, grow coffee in Uganda?
Uh, Almost every part of the country, we are now growing coffee. On the lowlands, we have the Lake Victoria Basin. This is the area around the central region, Masaka, Mukono, and then we have the so in this central region, it's mainly Robusta coffee because the areas are of low altitudes. Then in the eastern region, we have the Elgon, the Mbale, Tororo, where we have high altitudes. In that area, we grow mainly Arabica coffee. And then in the Zombo area, in northwest, West Nile, I mean, we grow also Arabica because there are some high altitudes. Kabale and Intungamo also do some Arabica and also Robusta sometimes. And in the Renzori region, we mainly also do Arabica. In the eastern region, in Kayunga, we do also Robusta, and we have started expanding to the northern region. The entire northern region is now producing, has been advised to produce, plant and produce Robusta coffees.
Climate change is hitting the yields. What should be done to solve such a problem and to keep the coffee business growing and moving forward?
Now, the major strategies to address climate change, first of all, is to do shade trees. As a minimum, we should have shade trees. Of course, you know, shade trees contribute towards the production of rains. And then besides their contribution towards the production of rain, they shield the coffee trees from the sunlight and the heat. And then we should also do terraces. When it rains, the runoff will be gathered in these terraces and the water can be held for some time. We should do mulches, and farmers are being encouraged to do irrigation systems. Simple irrigation systems could cost you about 5 to 6 million shillings for a given piece of land, where you have invested a lot of money, maybe let's say over 50 million shillings, 60 million shillings. 5 to 6 million shillings of an irrigation system for such a piece of land should not be so costly for a farmer.
Recently, we had the coffee bill that caused a lot of mixed reactions in the nation. You, as an expert in this field, should did that bill do more good or harm?
Well, the coffee bill has legal connotations, and that was passed by the parliament. Given that it was already passed and the government promised to support the bill, the new bill, it means that it's putting up efforts to ensure that its actions towards the improvement of the yields and also the quality. And we've seen that happen just as it used to do in the previous years where we had the previous Coffee Act under Uganda Coffee Development Authority. The staff of this authority were retained and are doing the exact activities the previous authority was doing, and they are doing so well.
In the same regard, we've had farmers making a loud cry complaining about the middleman. How have you helped them? How have you helped the common man who goes in the garden, does the planting, and in terms
Well,
of profit, there is always a big gap.
we have made a very big improvement in regard to that. Farmers are updated on a daily basis on coffee prices through the website, and we have established uh, an option where a farmer can just send a text message to know the prices of coffee in his area. If, for example, you want to know the prices of fair average quality for Robusta, you will just type Robusta and send this text message to 7197, and you receive an immediate response. It will give you the prices of Robusta. I don't know if you can try it now.
Is
or
it
maybe
free of charge?
it's a small cost. You would incur maybe around 230 shillings. So you will know the prices of Robusta coffee. You'll know the prices of Arabica coffee, and you also know the prices of export grade. So once you know the prices, you have the power to negotiate with the buyer. You will not be duped or deceived of the prices when you are well aware. Maybe to emphasize or to be a little bit clear to the audience, if you want the prices of Robusta coffee, you just type Robusta and then send that text message to 7197. If you want the prices of Arabica, you do the same. Rate Arabica, send that text message to 7197. You'll have the prices for FHU Arabica, FHU Robusta. If you want to know how much coffee is being bought from the country, you just type coffee and then send that text message to 7197. And that's basically for the exporters. If you want to know the prices of coffee, you'll know. So if you have an urgent buyer who's asking for, let me say, Bugisu AA, Wuga, you will just send coffee and then it will give you the prices. And then you can negotiate with your buyer, either a higher value or a higher price, depending on your bargaining powers.
At a cost of only 200 shillings.
Around 230 shillings.
The person
and then
gets
you
all
are
the
well
information.
informed.
Okay.
Yeah.
To someone out there who would want to engage in the coffee business, what are the incentives?
Well, the incentives are available in coffee business, and they are obtained majorly through the Uganda Investment Authority and also Uganda Revenue Authority. These authorities have put up mechanisms on how coffee dealers or farmers can receive incentives. So they have incentives under tax. So given the location, the scale of the business, beginners or people who are interested in doing coffee business, they can be given subsidies. For example, they are given tax holidays to operate their business, and also they can be given value-added tax-free holidays. You can go for a certain time producing your product of coffee without paying VAT. Like I said, it depends on location, it depends on the scale of the business, and also, of course, the availability of the incentive that you're looking for. There are other incentives that are related to value addition. If you are doing value addition, you can also be excused from paying taxes. And in manufacturing, if you want to produce, you can be given incentives in importing certain machineries that have import-free taxes. Now, under other ministries like Ministry of Agriculture, traders are receiving incentives in terms of seedlings. The country is supplying or distributing coffee seedlings to farmers free of charge, and it's the government that's paying. That's an incentive. Then
Free
other
of charge.
incentives are, yes,
And are people sensitized about this?
this is one way
People
that
aware?
people are supposed to be informed.
Yes.
But there are other mechanisms with their websites and the radio talks which keep going on. And of course, the president has always talked about this. It's not rocket science. He has always mentioned about seedling multiplication and production, which are supposed to be given to farmers that are interested. And they acquire these seedlings through the Ministry of Agriculture, down through their officers.
We mainly export raw beans. What can we do to increase, to start exporting, the roasted and packaged at least by the year 2030?
There are some companies that started already roasting and exporting roasted coffee beans and powder. They are exporting containers. Some are exporting to Kenya, others to those European countries, though the volume is still small. First of all, because of the machinery. There are very few dealers who have large-scale machinery that can produce the required volumes. And then we need to get in touch with the new buyers. With new buyers, in that way, we can increase our market for roasted coffee beans or powder.
And Robusta or Arabic, which one will make Uganda, to be known globally regarding the coffee industry?
Well, currently, I can firmly say that it's Robusta that makes our name stand out. First of all, like I already said, Uganda is known as the birthplace of Robusta, and therefore having the diversity for the Robusta coffee, and also the cup profile is diverse, is unique. So Robusta sells us more than Arabica, though we can also make more money from Arabica. Yeah, it doesn't mean that there's no money in Arabica, but where you have strengths, that's where you earn more. If we said we are not selling our Robusta to the outside countries, they'll not sneeze.
Do you have places that grow Arabica here in Uganda?
Yes, I talked of the Rwenzori region and Elgon region. These are the regions that give us the 20% of the coffee we export outside Uganda.
Okay. And to the youth,
maybe if I could just make a comment, there are other countries outside the world that now command the Arabica coffees. They have command in the production of Arabica coffees because they have huge supplies to the market. So our small 20% looks like a drop in an ocean and makes us look like disadvantaged. But there is demand for Arabica coffee, and usually has a very good cup.
I would say, and I'm sure you're also aware that agriculture is the backbone of our nation. So to the youth out there who don't see farming as a core, they want to engage in other activities, but farming is good and there is some good money. You are witness to that.
Yes, please.
What advice would you give to the youth out there?
It is something to do with influencing. Unless there is an indicator of money, someone will not venture into a certain business. And that calls for awakening people. Awakening people that there is money in coffee. You will bear me witness that the other time when we had huge bump harvest of coffee and high prices of coffee, especially from Masaka region, you must have seen some funny pictures people posting that make your money, grow your coffee and make money out of coffee and keep quiet.
Interesting.
You must have seen those pictures.
Yeah.
So I could say the youths and those young people are not awakened to see where there's money. I want to reliably tell you that given that time, the money people got out of coffee, very many people woke up and demanded for coffee seedlings and started growing coffee. So it's the same way. There must be evidence that there is money in coffee. If you're a coffee farmer and there is no man around you, how shall we believe you? Let the coffee farmers or traders show that there is money through investments, through their developments. If you have a coffee farm that is making maybe 100 million shillings annually, put up another investment. Let people see that the person has moved from the farm maybe to processing, maybe from a small homestead to a bigger home. Has expanded maybe from hiring to grading. eh? Let people see this high quality life out of the products, out of your coffee, out of your activities you are doing. And then the youths will be encouraged to do coffee. And then secondly, of course, you don't easily influence an adult. We must begin the influence as early as possible. Begin going to the farm with your kids. Me, I remember when I started doing some bit of farming, it was with my dad sometime back. Picking coffee, that was the first activity I used to do with dad. I was quite young to pick the coffee and it was a tedious activity. Later, when I grew up, I think the actual activity that I did myself was the operation of nursery beds. I did a nursery bed that was in my primary 7. I did a nursery bed of eucalyptus trees. And as I talk now, the person I was making that nursery bed for has now over 10 acres of eucalyptus trees, and it's his main livelihood. Now, consider children being encouraged to operate nursery beds as early as maybe 13 years, because I remember that time I was around 13 years. You're talking of 25 years. But even at 13 years, someone can be able to make pots for coffee, and then they pot coffee seedlings there or coffee cuttings. Yeah, so we must train our children to do coffee farming as early as possible, along with us, of course. You don't leave the child to do the activity by themselves. And also, you don't strain them to break them down, because you're not supposed to make them as laborers. You are supposed to train them into agriculture as early as possible. Yeah.
What are some of the challenges coffee farmers are facing as of now?
One of the major challenges is theft. Farms are broken in two, and then stripping of coffee is done by thieves. They steal the coffee beans, cherries, and then by the end of the day, when the farmer goes to the garden, maybe doesn't find anything there. That's at the garden level, but even stores, you've seen videos and clips where robbers break into stores, put the store managers and coffee dealers on guard, and until they've taken either the money or they've taken the coffee. Those are some of the challenges, and they are being managed by the government through police and security. The other challenges are the practices which they do. Sometimes they harvest premature coffee. Of course, when you harvest premature coffee, it will have a poor cup taste, and secondly, the outturn will be low, and therefore the payment will also be low. Then other challenges are drying because of the rains, the coffee molds, but these farmers and traders are encouraged to have drying sheds, because if you have a drying shed within 7 or maybe 14 days, the coffee will have dried and you'll not have interruptions of the rains.
What is the average farm gate price versus export price right now?
I don't want to say that there is a fixed farm price at the gate, because these prices are changing on a daily basis, depending on the forces of demand and supply globally. The price today is not the price you'll find tomorrow. Okay, you could find the same price tomorrow. So I wouldn't want to say that there is a fixed price for coffee at the gate or maybe at the export. The best you can do is to keep checking on a daily basis the prices, like I advised earlier.
And what are the means to close that gap.
Now, if I can just say, uh, the farmer actually benefits almost 70% as profit from the farm, compared to a buyer or a trader or an exporter who earns between around 100 to 300 shillings per kilogram and is at times also at risk of running a loss because of price volatility.
Mm.
Now, that's why you've seen today a person opens up a trading facility or a processing facility or an export facility, and after a year or so, he closes up.
Mm.
So the farmers are at a better benefit of earning from coffee at the farm than the traders. So we have the impression that the traders or the exporters are making a lot of money out of coffee. But we forget that there are costs involved. If I can just look at the prices for today, the difference is about 8,000 shillings. But break down that 8,000 shillings into transport. I'll buy the coffee from Mount Elgon. I'll have to transport it from the Elgon region, maybe up to in Kampala at the processing facility. Those are costs involved, and I'm the one who's paying for those costs, me as a trader, not you, the farmer. When I reach at the facility, I'll process this coffee and remove foreign matter. It has stones, it has husks. Some farmers intentionally add in these things. So I've bought it, let me say, 14,000, but out of your 100 kilos, 20 kilos are dust husks. So you can see a difference of 8,000 is going into transport, is going into foreign matter, is going into undergrades. The broken, the lightweight, the black beans, I will have already paid for them, but in actual sense, they are going for a low price. That aside, in production, there are costs involved, such as the salaries and wages we shall be paying to the employees, the utilities, water and electricity that run these machines in processing the coffee, and then the taxes. eh, there are certain taxes which exporters pay. Now, when you divide this portion that remains, you find that an export or a trader remains with about maybe 200 to 300 shillings as profit. So let us not be deceived by the gap. We need to look at the cost these people incur and then be convinced to earn what deserves or what we deserve, and let others also earn what they deserve. If you have the capital, we are advising farmers to form cooperatives and also process the coffee themselves and maybe even export. That could be even much better. You'll not even have these problems of a middleman or an exporter. You will handle the coffee yourself and then export it yourself. You'll incur the cost yourself and then know maybe you could earn something much better than if you had sold it at the farm.
As an expert in this coffee industry, what are some of those policies do you think the government should introduce to safeguard those the coffee farmers?
I think our government has a very good policy on coffee. National coffee policy is really very good. What we just need to do, or what the country needs to do, is to track the progress of the achievements it has had out of this policy. My observations is that maybe that could improve the policy is to look at improving or increasing production at sub-county or parish levels. The nursery bed operators can work at sub-county level or at parish level. I remember when I was a child, very young, me, I have a strong memory of my childhood. We had a government nursery bed where farmers would just go and pick the seedlings from there. But today, they are licensed nursery bed operators who at one time may have the coffee and at another time may not have the coffee seedlings. So I would advise to expand this production because there is high demand for the coffee seedlings. Either there is a farmer who is just establishing a garden, or there is another farmer who is doing some renovation of the garden, is replanting more trees, and there is always demand for these seedlings. We shouldn't move long distances to get the seedlings. Let us expand these productions to those either sub-county or parish levels. And then secondly, we need to do more sensitization, and maybe if possible, we need to finance climate smart strategies so that we can cap down or address the issues of climatic changes. It would also be a good thing. And also we can also do more on consumption. The consumption is still low. We can improve this consumption through our cultural leaders. We've had the Uganda region promote coffee planting, and also I think drinking, because culturally, if you are marrying a Muganda, you'll be brought coffee, cherries which are roasted, and then you chew them. We can make it mandatory that when someone is taking my daughter, should come with some roasted beans. It can be a cultural practice at cultural level.
I've seen that happen in some
Yeah,
of
so
these
why should
introductions.
people carry bags of sugar, bags of soap, and they cannot carry even a packet of coffee?
Of coffee.
Isn't that interesting?
Very interesting.
Yeah. That's my opinion.
Uh,
Yeah.
Coffee grounds are still very rare globally. And what can we do to help create the next phase of good African coffee globally?
Well, the product's brand is defined by its quality. I want to give an example. Coca-Cola soda. It's a brand. Does Coca-Cola taste the same as Pepsi Cola?
No.
Why? They are
Different brands.
uniquely made.
Yes.
Oh, does Fanta taste the same way as Pepsi Cola?
A good example could be this. It's a different brand and
So
tastes.
these questions I'm trying to put forward is to help us understand what it means by a brand.
Yeah.
A brand tastes in a unique way, consistently, today, tomorrow, and even in the future. Why does it taste consistently? So a product or a brand tastes consistently because of the processes that have been put forward. These processes have been standardized to ensure that the product will consistently taste the same and appeal its consumers. If one time I take Coca-Cola and it's tasting funny, do you think I'll return back? I'm not going to come back. Now, what is interesting with coffee? There are multiple producers, and then they end up aggregating the coffee. That changes the consistency of the coffee. So going forward, we can say that coffee should be produced as per brands. Uganda Coffee Development Authority has previously made coffee profiles for our country. There are profiles for Victoria, Lake Victoria Basin. There are profiles for Rwenzori region. There are profiles for Elgon region. There are profiles for this area of Kamuli. Those coffees have been profiled and we know how each tastes. So we need to encourage these regions to brand it and maybe also encourage buyers to buy specific brands so that the coffee from Rwenzori region is not mixed with the coffee from the Elgon region. If a buyer initially bought coffee from Elgon region and tasted differently from that is produced from Rwenzori region, he will not come back. So if we branded Elgon region, let's say Bugisu AA, with certain features on the bag, the buyer will know this is the brand for Elgon region. When he's buying a brand from the Rwenzori region, also the bag should be labeled properly with the features and branded as Rwenzori region. Central, the same way. Now, if given that the Department of Coffee has already profiled these brands, of course, there are other challenges that might be involved. The person that is producing coffee, no, let's say Elgon region is a big region. There are multiple factories, but there might be no assurance that this factory handles Elgon coffee the same way this factory handles it. So it means that these factories need to undergo, or factory operators need to undergo training in the production processes of specific brands. So they need to be equipped in knowledge and in skill. Their processes must be standardized. If you are washing for 20 hours, they must be 20 hours. If your temperatures for washing are supposed to be, let's say, 30 degrees centigrade, in factory A, they must be the same as in factory B, they must be the same as in factory C. That's only and the only way we can make a single brand or different brands per region.
As we conclude, I want first of all to thank you so much for coming through, and please share your last remarks towards our viewers.
Dear viewers, I would like to thank you for taking your time to listen to this interview, and I encourage you to keep following because more is coming. I'll always be available when I'm invited to present on coffee. Thank you so much. My name is once again, I'm Ignatius Kibaba, passionate about coffee farming and product development. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ignatius.
You're
It's
welcome.
been a pleasure having
You're
you on
welcome,
the show.
I'm
All right,
pleased
then.
to have participated and contributed.
And we hope we're looking forward to have you again.
Thank you so much.
Yes. From the single origin to perfect creamer, you've had it all. Yes, this is a parliamentary coffee forum, and every single episode I'll be bringing you a guest. We'll dig deep to know more about the coffee industry. Everything you need to know, we'll be sharing it right here on the Parliamentary Coffee Forum. I'm your host, Emam Nyangeri. Until we meet again, ciao adios.